Hey guys, Jess here. I have a new layout for you today. It's a 12 by 12. It is a photo of my husband and I from our wedding. We're on a set of swings, and I just love this photo. It's very fun and whimsical. And when I was on the Hip Kit Facebook group, they had a layout, a grid design as their weekly challenge, so I use that for inspiration. And as you can see here, what I've begun to do is tear the bottom of the sheet, and then I found this excuse me, this wood grain 12 by 12 paper to layer underneath. The photo is it's in amongst the trees. It's a little bit rustic. I have a black and white image, so I felt as though the wood grain was a nice accent to the photo itself. And then, as you can see on the left hand side, I have some butterflies there. So off camera, I had done some fussy cutting of all these butterflies from a single sheet of paper that I picked up at I don't know what you call it, like a warehouse type store. It's called Tate's here. He gets a bunch of overstock, and he usually gets a ton of scrapbook items. So he had a huge lot of scrapbook paper by Love Nicole, which I think is a line that's carried by AC Moore. And then one of these papers in there was all these butterflies. And I said, oh, these butterflies are gorgeous. So I fussy cut them all out with the idea that I would put them in the grid layout design, as you can kind of see here, for that sketch. And I really just love the way it turned out. The colors are beautiful. They complement the photo just nicely, and I think it was it was different, which I really liked. And I just really enjoy grid design layouts. They speak to me. They're symmetrical and visually appealing, and they can be interpreted in so many different ways. So excuse me, I'm struggling with a bit of a cold, so I apologize for my throat clearing. So now what I've done, I got my butterflies in the layout that I want. So I'm taking and I'm taping down the middle, and then I'm using pop-up squares to lift up the wings to give them like a little bit of dimension, kind of like, an insect collector would do. They put like the pin in the middle and fan out the wings. It kind of gives that same look. So I speed this up a little bit so you don't have to watch it in real time, but I go through and I stick down all the butterflies with their wings lifted up, and it really does just add that little bit extra to the layout, a little bit of dimension, and it helps the butterflies stand out just that much more. I'm really pleased with the way this layout came together. It was relatively quick overall. I think the toughest part for me, as you'll see in this video, was figuring out how to embellish it beyond the butterflies. I mean, it was very pretty with just the butterflies, but it definitely needed a little bit more. And so as you see this video go along, I actually did cut out pretty big chunks of me combing through all my different embellishments to try to figure out what to pair with these butterflies. Sometimes I struggle with that. I don't know about you, but you get like a layout and you have the base looking really great, and then you get stumped with embellishing. I get hung up embellishing a lot. I have lots to choose from, but it's just pairing them with my layout I find challenging, and just finding the right one. Sometimes with the amount of product that I have, I feel like I just don't have the perfect embellishment. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that to myself quite often. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I think it's just me, but I ended up getting this layout to work with some trial and error through the embellishments. So all right, back to the video. So I have all the butterflies tacked down, and now I have layered a piece of tissue paper, pink tissue paper, behind my photo to mat it. It softens up the overall look of the photo because it is black and white, and then I've popped it up with some foam adhesive foam. So now here comes the embellishing piece. So I needed to figure out a title for this layout, and I also wanted to find some embellishments to complement. So I have some 6x8 pads. I can't recall, I think this might have been a Jen Hatfield paper pad, but they had these really pretty kind of like muted flowers on this sheet. So as you can see here, I'm fussy cutting one of these out and to add some florals to the design. I love florals anyway. What I struggled with most though was trying not to make it too busy, because those butterflies are so impactful. I didn't really want to take away from them. But I had these blank spaces at the bottom of the layout and at the top of the layout that I felt like it made the layout feel incomplete. So I started with fussy cutting some flowers and placing them on there. I get some little vines and leaves from Creative Memories embellishment pack, which I love, by the way. I should have bought more of these. These are fantastic leaves. I don't end up using them on this layout, but I've used them on others, and I just love these leaves and vines. It was a really great embellishment pack. I don't know if they make it anymore or not. I'll have to look. I bought them while I was out of crop, and I'm so thankful I did. They've lasted me a long time, and they just fit perfectly. But in regards to this layout, they just didn't, it was too much. It was taking away from the butterflies, and it was too much. I was playing around for a period of time with it, as you can see, trying to get it to work. But at the end, I was just like, nope, it's too busy. I want those butterflies to kind of be the focal point, and I just felt like it was too much going on. So I come in and I'm like, well, maybe I need to add a different kind of flower. Maybe that's what it is. And it's a bunch of trial and error. And I left this part of the video in here on purpose, because I wanted to share with you all that these layouts don't just magically happen quickly, and I don't get it right like on the first try. There's a lot of trial and error, combing through my product and figuring out what I like best for the layout. And I think it's really important to see that, because I know for me, like, you see all these beautiful layouts that these other designers have done, and they're like, oh wow, how did they come up with that? But watching the videos and the ones that keep all these the decision part or the trial and error parts in their videos, you can see that it takes a long time to sometimes to come up with the perfect look and to make it feel complete for you. And so I think it's important to share that with you. And as you can see here, I'm still moving stuff around, trying to get those florals to work. But at the end of the day, they just didn't. It doesn't mean they won't go on something on another layout, but for this one, it didn't work. I did, however, keep the one on the bottom right. I felt like that was really cute in that little space. Then I went through my embellishments, and I found this cute little Bright Happy Days square tag, which I thought was perfect in that placement. It worked well. And then I found this Vellum Lovely, which looking at the video now, I'm like, wow, I really, really like that. Why didn't I keep it? I'm not really sure why I didn't keep it, but it looks nice. So maybe I'll have to do a similar layout and have that word lovely there. But I'm going through all my, this is like a vintage, I think this is a Heidi Swap and Maggie Holmes little tin I have, or a little bin of just various ephemera. And it has like that vintagey vibe, which I felt like this layout was kind of had that vibe going already, to see if I could find any pieces that would work with this layout. Again, it's just seeing what jumps out at you, because I had the basics planned out, but when it comes to the details, you just gotta kind of see what speaks to you. So I play around with this Vellum Lovely for a while. It is a really pretty font, and I still have it. I haven't used it yet on another one, so I'm sure I'll get it on a layout at some point. But I definitely love that Bright Happy Days tag. It couldn't have been more perfect. So now I have some close to my heart sticker sheets that I'm going through to see if I can find something that works. And I found this little banner This is Happy Place, I think. I can't quite see. And I commit to it. So at this point, if you probably can't tell, I stop hemming and hawing and I just start sticking down, because I was just going around and round and round with embellishing, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start adhering, and that's it. I'm going to commit to it. So then I was going through my what I call my junk drawer that has a bunch of randomness in it that I don't have organized in any way, and I found my rub-ons, and I was like, oh, this is great, rub-ons, what a great idea, because the butterflies are already dimensional, the photo is popped up in dimensional, so the rub-ons would kind of balance that out and they would be more flat. And so I found these, I think these were a Vicky Bouton collection that I got, and there was these little chains, and I was like, oh, that would look really pretty in the corner. So I go to trim them out and I go to rub them on, and I was like, oh, that's gonna look so nice. And come to find out, after I go to rub them, they don't stick. So this whole pack of rub-ons was a dud. I was really bummed, very, very bummed, because I thought that would have looked really pretty. But you know, things happen for a reason, and that just wasn't meant to go in this layout. So I gave it one more valiant effort to make sure that I wasn't, screwing something up with those rub-ons, but it just didn't work. So back to the drawing board. However, the good thing is I had a few other sheets of rub-ons in my little junk drawer that could work for this layout too. So I start going through those. I have a pink paisley rub-on sheet from the Paige Evans Whimsical collection, which I end up using a lot of. So I went a little rub-on crazy for the remainder of this layout. But I feel like it complemented it, and it went really well. It really ended up going good. Although I look at this now in the portion of the video saying, I'm like, wow, that's really nice, simple, and pretty too. Isn't it funny how you look at a layout after the fact, you're like, oh, I could have done something differently, but I really am pleased with the end result of it too. So it's interesting to see how many different ways a layout can go, depending on the product you have and what you choose. So I'm going excuse me, I'm going through. I finally committing to this tag, stuck it down, which I just love that tag so much. I can't stop drooling over it. I just think it's so perfect. The colors, like the gold, like just everything. It just worked out really well. I'm very pleased with that. And then I found this You and Me rub-on, and I was trying to figure out how to layer it with something else forever. And I'm not really sure who the maker was of these rub-ons. I didn't save the tag, unfortunately, but they went on beautifully. So I found this You and Me, which obviously was perfect for a title because it's my husband and I on our wedding day. And then I decided to lay it over this gold heart. So it's tying the gold into the Bright Happy Days tag, which worked out beautifully. And so I was really pleased with how it was coming together. With these rub-ons, and they went on so smoothly, how rub-ons should. I was really disappointed about the American Craft ones, but again, I think I got it at Tate's, the warehouse shop, so maybe they were just old or a defective bunch, so it is what it is. And then I have I go back to that rub-on sheet and I find these little gold stars, or bursts, I'm not really sure what you call them. And I start just adding little bits and pieces of more rub-ons. And like I said, I get a little rub-on happy, but they ended up balancing the layout so well. Again, like I said before, because of the dimension of the butterflies, having just the flat, the rub-on text and title, and little embellishment colors just worked out very nicely. It really ended up coming together well. So I was trying to figure out what to do here in the bottom left-hand corner, because to me it was still naked, like it was still really blank, and it needed something there. It was too much white space. So I'm playing around with some more rub-ons. As you can tell, I couldn't decide on what I wanted to do. So I go back in my drawer, and I find another sheet, I believe, yeah, of these bigger ones. So obviously white wouldn't have worked out so well because it would have blended right in. So I'm just cutting and just figuring out what I like, what looks well. Trial and error, right? Trial and error. And I think these are rub-on phrases. They might have been Heidi Swap or Tim Holtz. I can't recall. I'm really sorry, guys. It's one of those two, I'm pretty sure. And then this one, originally I was going to choose The Adventure Begins, but I decided against it, and I think I pick a different one, a different phrase. We'll see in a moment. I think it's Happy Together. Again, just that little extra. I love little scripty fonts and word phrases, and these rub-ons, again, just went on so beautifully. It's one of those, rub-ons are kind of one of those products that I forget that I have, but when I discover them, as in this layout example here, I'm like, I get so excited about them, I go a little nutso. But at the end of the day, I think it works out really well. But it's just kind of funny. It's like one of those products that I just don't gravitate towards very often until I stumble upon it, going through my embellishment junk drawer. So now I'm back at the whimsical rub-on sticker sheet, and it had these cute little butterflies that I thought I could incorporate, you know, because what's a couple more butterflies, right? So I added that to the top, You and Me, and then they had these other little decorations, like little X's and stitching style looking rub-on pieces. So I added a little bit of pink up there above the U. It's a really cute rub-on sheet, as you can kind of catch a glimpse of it. The colors are just gorgeous. So I was trying to figure out what I might be able to use in that bottom left-hand corner from that sheet there. And so I end up kind of combining the two sheets. Let's see, there's this really large XO, yeah, here it is, from the other rub-on sheet that I was like, oh, I kind of like the font. It's bold and black, so it kind of ties in the black from the You and Me, and it's a nice size to take up some of that space. So I committed and I decided that's what I'm going to start with down here in the bottom left-hand corner. And then I just kind of build from there. And I go back and I add some more from the whimsical rub-on collection. Like I said, I warned you guys, like I went rub-on crazy, but they just fit perfectly. It was a happy accident and it worked out well. I really like it. So I think this one says, You Make Me Happy, and a cute little like stitch design at the bottom. There was another little butterfly that I end up adding here to the bottom of this to kind of mirror the top right. And there was a couple little hearts and like stitch designs I end up sprinkling here by the XOXO. And I just think it really filled in the space nicely, and it just worked. I'm just so happy with the way this came together. And this really was just a stash layout. I just went through and pulled out pieces of my stash. My photo was really my inspiration, because I was like, I hadn't scrapped a lot of photos of my husband and I recently, so I was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna just pull out and see what I haven't done of our wedding yet. I jump around a lot. How do you know, are you guys chronological scrappers, or do you bounce around? Let me know in the comments below. I tend to bounce around. I like to scrap based on my mood. And so, not that I don't love my son, but I was just kind of like, oh, you know, I feel like scrapping my husband and I today. And so that's what I did. And it was nice. It was a nice change. And I'm just so pleased with the way the layout came out. I really am. I like it when that happens. And plus, I got, you know, I was able to use up a lot of my stash, because we all know, as being crafters and scrapbookers, you just purchase more products than you probably would ever use in a lifetime. So it is really nice to be able to use that on occasion, or make a point to use it. So I do try really hard to make sure that I tap into that stash and use some of my older goodies. So let's see, where are we at here in the layout? So as you can see, I've added a few little hearts to the XOXO, some other little stitching at the bottom, green stitching and splatters, just to kind of add a little bit more interest down around that XO. XO section. And I think, as far as the rub-ons, I think that's kind of where I land. Oh, yeah. Then I decided, oh, do I need a heart down here? A little sticky heart. And then I'm like, no, it doesn't work. I don't know what I was thinking trying to fit that on there. I'm like, no, this just doesn't fit at all in the layout. And so I'm like, take it away. And then come back with some enamel hearts and just add a couple. I was trying to mirror kind of the hearts in the upper right hand corner. So I did a couple or 3 little enamel hearts, and I think they work out pretty nicely. They're very pretty. I love enamel hearts anyway. So I add those, and then what I do is I'm pretty close to being done here. I just wanted to add some gold splatters to the page, and so I take my pearlescent powders, and it's a little off the screen and I apologize for that, but I take some of the pearlescent powders and I add some water to an acetate sheet and I mix it together, and it's this really beautiful shimmery gold. And so I make it a liquid, and then I go and spritz some of the gold around, and you can kind of see there on the left hand side. I cover my photo to protect it so I don't get any gold splats on there, and then I literally just go through and just get splat happy. It just adds another layer of visual interest and a little sparkle because of the shimmery of the gold powder, and it takes away some of that stark white space too. And so yeah, so that is the final step of this layout here, and it is complete. And I will get a close-up here. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and layout. I hope it inspires you. I hope you love it as much as I do. With a little fussy cutting and some creativity and a sketch as an inspiration, you can have a beautiful layout such as this. So until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.